So Bhishma Panchak, in the Mahabharata war, uh, everyone knew that Arjuna did not want to fight, correct? Anyone here not know much about Bhagavad Gita? So Arjuna, one of the reasons he did not want to fight was he had to fight two prime personalities, and those personalities were the ones that were making him lament fighting. And those personalities, who were those two personalities?
Their own brothers.
Bhishma and Drona. Yes. Who was Drona to Arjuna?
Arjun's guru.
Yeah, his military teacher. Actually, eventually he lost the position of guru to him. But yes, he was his guru in military arts. And who was Bhishma? Yeah, like his grandfather, really actually raised him because his father had passed on early. And they were great personalities, and they were actually the Pandavas' well-wishers. But just due to the circumstances of life, due to misfortune guaranteed to come your way eventually, it was time for Bhishma's misfortune to be caught on the wrong side of the war. So it was during this time, I think this day was the day he fell on the battlefield, where he was, there was a whole pastime of how it happened. Even to take down Bhishma was an impossible feat in this war. But they actually, when they used all their skills together and broke down his morality a little bit, not morality, his spirits, his battle spirits. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was believed that Bhishma was immortal and no one can kill him. Like he himself can kill. That's why like he lays on the bed of arrows and kills himself.
Yeah, well, that was the boon that he was given.
Shikhandini was allowed to kill him.
Yeah.
What?
So his boon was that he was not to be to choose when he would leave his body, to choose the path of a yogi. So he was actually had like an immortal, but as Udit was saying, Shikhandi, who was it Ambiya or Ambika?
Amba.
Amba. It was Amba in a past life, was sent specifically for the destruction of Bhishma. But still Bhishma got to choose. But the reason he chose is because his spirits were completely defeated. And why? Because ultimately he was forced to fight for a cause that was not dharmic. And he ultimately, despite trying his best to fulfill his vows, he realized, because Krishna was on the other side, there was no defeating, there was no winning. Any tricks that he had left up his sleeve were thwarted by Krishna and the Pandavas. And so he finally let his guard go down and took thousands of arrows, like very small apart in his body. And they penetrated right through him, and he laid on that bed of arrows for this 5-day period with no water, which is why some people are even attempting to do this fast with no water to emulate Bhishma's type of vrat that he took. Now, what's this also have to do with the Kartik month? And Bhishma was probably giving this great benediction because he was such a great devotee that ultimately he got to leave his body at the end of Krishna's favorite month, which is what? Kartik. This month is like a wholesale month on like all the spiritual advancement you could ever want to make. And I'm actually seeing it. In the beginning of this month, we had like 2 people coming to Mangal Arati. And now if you see Mangal Arati every day, it's like all these students here, there's like 7 or 8 of them every day. Now I'm watching, there's people with tilak in here. Some of the people were messaging my guru the other day. I think like a bunch of people are going to get initiated. Manny just decided today he's going to move in here. Like, I don't know what's happening this month, but it's crazy. Oh, we got called to buy this house, and then we got help from all kinds of different people, and more seems to be on the way. And it's just like more and more and more. Like this month has been incredible, at least here at Mantra Central, the momentum. Krishna is hearing my call, but it's not just me. It's a whole community call, and it's very special. So anyway, I'm going to bring up a little presentation. No. What's that? It's for me to have some notes. That's all. So I don't say anything stupid. So, all right, we're gonna read a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, verse 259. I mean, do we want to get that up?
It's not really a presentation.
All right. So,
Presentation.
no. Just do it on the screen. It's quicker. So, all right, we're gonna make it a presentation by my wife's request.
You're just saying it. Then you present something.
All right. By my
Why is it no?
by my words, it's now going to be a presentation, and I think this must be what Krishna desires, which is why Krishna's blocking any other option, seemingly. So I'll pull it up on my phone for you, Rishi, so you can get it. So we already chanted Om Namo Bhagavate 3 times. I'll chant before, because I'm not going to do all kinds of purports like we normally would. Chant Om Agyan. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Nitale Vimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauramahi Prachati Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 259. Repeat after me. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Good. So go down. Repeat after me. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains, but seizing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. So, one of the things that we want to do, we want to practically show you what it's like over the next 4 days. Yes, our senses will be restricted slightly, even though you guys get so much delicious prasadam, it almost doesn't feel like it. But maybe in comparison to what normally your life looks like, there may be some restrictions here at the ashram or here in a devotional gathering that will be quite different. But we want to show you the experience of a higher taste. And by coming every day and doing the whole arrangement every day, you'll actually come to see how joyful actually this process is. And actually, this isn't quite bhakti yet, but it's at this stage that bhakti can begin. When you stop all the material activity and actually like reach a point of like meditation And then we can actually know bhakti, which is the real pleasure. So first, this is just going to stop the suffering. Anyone here not suffering at all? So we got to stop it. So this is actually the secret to stopping the suffering. Is the cause of suffering is actually our sensory enjoyments that we're chasing. By chasing, we cause our own suffering, actually. So we're going to stop that process here, and then we're going to engage the senses in their real function for enjoyment. And that's ultimately going to be in bhakti, or in devotion to God. But it's nice because you're not the result is not suffering. The result is actually joy. And you're doing the same thing, but you're engaging them in a different way. Like when you're honoring prasad, even though it tastes very good because it's offered to the Lord, and with love, meditation, and devotion, it's a different experience. The result on the consciousness is different. And actually, when it digests inside of you, your consciousness will be fixed more towards goals like this, rather than trying to enjoy the sense enjoyments. Go to 264 for me, Rishi. We're going to try and show the higher taste. So, again, we're not going to do the verse, so just right to the English. Repeat after me. One who can control his senses by practicing the regulated principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord and thus become free from all attachment and aversion. So these are some of the things that are, we did a verse yesterday. We had like a little Wednesday class, and we talked about where, how when we contemplate the objects of the senses, and I was just remarking to my wife today how dangerous these phones are, because they give you a little portal where you can look at all the objects of the senses, like on Amazon or on all these like little things. And as soon as you like scroll on it for a little too long, then the phone is programmed to just keep feeding you the objects of those senses until you buy it. It's like actually amazing how, this little thing is such a portal into contemplating the objects of the senses. And they know that lust, as soon as we contemplate the objects of the senses, we develop what's called an attachment. And that attachment is where lust and bewilderment and all the chain of things that lead to our suffering go to. So, and then the other side of that is also, it shows us things that we want to avoid and that we're averse to. But by the mercy of the Lord and by controlling our senses, we can achieve the mercy of the Lord, and we can actually overcome this process of getting attached to things that ultimately really lead to our suffering and our attachments and are being bound up in the webs of karma in this world. So it's only by this liberated state that actually we can really begin the process of bhakti. That's why Krishna takes us through this process first. If we don't control the senses, if we want to skip things and try and work around certain things, we're going to be really limited. It's a science, actually. So we're going to teach you the science of how to start bhakti. So it's exciting, but it's also, it's a little bit of a challenge. It's not going to be easy, especially because we're conditioned in this Western world to do the exact opposite, to try and enjoy the senses. But unfortunately, we're also conditioned in this Western world to leave the body quite miserable, because that's all that really can be done the way that the life is lived here. So go to 265, Rishi, the next verse. You took the long route there. Repeat after me. For one who is so situated in the divine consciousness. The threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such a happy state, one's intelligence soon becomes steady. So this is the goal here. We're going to try and get situated in the divine consciousness so that we don't have to experience the miseries of material existence any longer. Even though they'll still be there, we don't have to be miserable as the body is experiencing misery. Because guess what? Misfortune is going to come to the body. Death is going to come to the body. But we don't have to have it be a miserable experience. Actually, like I was telling you, many times I've told you, one of the best days of my entire life was the miserable experience of getting arrested. But actually, due to my ability of, or maybe not my ability, the good fortune of having bhakti in my life, it was the most transformative and wonderful thing that actually happened to me. Even though at the time I was still totally feeling it as misery because I wasn't very cultivated in my bhakti. But now I can look back and be like, wow, what a great thing that Krishna did for me. What a gift. And actually, that's going to be one of the tools that supposed miseries, we can shift our consciousness on how we see what's going on around us and how actually the Lord is blessing us at every single moment. And if we're experiencing misery, it's only due to our angle of vision, how we're seeing it. Because we ultimately, our intelligence is not steady as of yet. And ultimately in this divine consciousness, it's a happy state. So this is right away in Bhagavad Gita in 265. Or you should take me to 126 of Bhagavatam. The verse is Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir hokshaje ahaitukya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. We're going to revisit this verse a couple times throughout the retreat. This is a trademark key verse in the Bhagavatam. Repeat after me. The supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So this is what we're here to establish in all of you. You all have this already, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't want to come to a bhakti yoga retreat if you didn't already have a taste for your supreme occupation, that you know that there's a higher purpose to your life. So ultimately, it's going to be, what is your loving devotional service unto the Lord? And that's going to evolve, and it's going to be dynamic, and it's going to be ever changing. Every day, you're going to have a new growth on what that looks like in your life. But ultimately, the goal is how we shift our vision where we're always working towards this. Why? Because this is going to satisfy the self. This is what's going to really make you happy. Always. You're not going to have a little bit of happiness here, not like eating ice cream or a Netflix movie or some sex or some good music. It's ultimately always going to satisfy you, and you're going to find more and more and more and more pleasure in this. And actually, this offering of a retreat is my wife and I's expression of our bhakti, because this is actually what's really nourishing us and making us quite happy. So we want to get you all together and do this as much as possible. And some of you, especially those of you some of them have been coming literally every day. And it's been almost hectic. How do we deal with people every day? But not like deal with, but like, how do we accommodate, people's needs at the emotional and physical level every single day? The only way actually it's going is because this is the center. And it's just completely satisfying. And we're watching them grow and become amazing people. And actually just we're actually just learning how amazing they are. And we're just helping them uncover some of the weeds that maybe got in the way of how amazing they are. And actually, this is like this for every single living entity. Every single person is amazing. It's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita how amazing the soul is. But as you see, some of the seemingly less amazing souls in this world, and trust me, there's a lot that don't seem that amazing as of right now. It's due to a thick covering, due to their ultimately their attachments and aversions, which are really much hiding the nature of the soul. Even we're going to talk about some verses killing the nature of the soul. So go to Nectar of Instruction, text 1. Oh yeah. All right. We're going to give like a little kind of direction of where we're going, and then we're going to go deep in all these little areas. Text 1. It's Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Ururapasta Vegam, Etan Vegam, Yovishaheta Diraha, Sarvam Apimam Prativimsa Shishya. Repeat after me. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So this is getting into why we're doing this, is because ultimately, if we can train first ourselves, and ultimately, if we can be trained by our spiritual teachers and this lineage, which is coming from Krishna, on how to do these things, we can help the whole world. You know, Jesus often said, you are not often, but in his gospel, you are the light of the world. And he talked about awakening and shining that light all over the world. And he also asked his disciples to go all over the world and make disciples. So similarly, this is just the teachings of Bhakti Yoga. When you find a good thing, you got to share it. And actually, the sharing is what makes you happy. You know, like we're fortunate to have found Bhakti Yoga, but didn't like just end. Like now our Bhakti is like, no, it's even better when we share it. And that's what we're experiencing with these students coming every day, is we're watching their Bhakti awaken, and we're watching them practice their Bhakti and their expressions of Bhakti going. It's just giving us more and more and more pleasure, but we don't have to do anything. It's like a self-sustaining business of Bhakti. And it's just like, we're watching them just do all kinds of wonderful little Bhakti offerings, and it's not even for us, for others, and it's just giving us pleasure over and over and over again. And so actually, this is how in your Bhakti, you're all going to be satisfied, because it's ultimately not when you get served, but when you serve others, that you're actually completely satisfied. Like we talked about that verse, when you're unmotivated and it's uninterrupted, you just keep going. That's the only thing that's going to completely satisfy the self. And I'm not saying we're unmotivated and we're uninterrupted, because guess what? Our own motivations, our own interruptions come as well. But that's when we're no longer feeling that complete satisfaction. And the work is to get to that unmotivated and uninterrupted state. And that's going to be part of our work. We're all going to work on this retreat. How do we become unmotivated in our offerings? How do we become uninterrupted in our offerings? And that's why we're like saying, come stay here for like 4 days in a row. So we don't have all these interruptions, and we don't let the material world motivate us. So that's the ideal. It's a lofty goal, but we'll go for it. And actually, by our attempt, the Lord is going to bless us. So, and then the last reason, the last thing, go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 7, verse 128. Madhya Lila 7, 128. It goes Yada Deka Tarekaha Krishna Upadesha Amara Gyaya Guru Anatara Idesha. So I'm gonna actually use for this second line, I'm gonna use Prabhupada's Guru's translation instead of Prabhupada's. But it's the same meaning, but I just like the way it sounds. It's more poetic to me. Repeat after me. Instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Sri Krishna. Now it'll be changed. By my command, being Guru, save this land. It's the same thing, but it's like kind of more poetic to me that way. Because by my command, being Guru, save this land. So might be like a little bit more yeah. So ultimately that's why we're doing this, is because there's a land that needs saving. And actually you've all received a certain amount of salvation already. To even come across spiritual life, to be with devotees, you're chanting, you have all your own practices already. You know largely what are the really sinful things in life, and most of you are intelligent enough to not do most of the sinful things. But, you know, there is always the temptations, right? And we're fighting and we're battling them. But by and large, you're all, you know, far more experienced than the majority of people. But still, the majority of people go on with their daily activities every day. And ultimately, they're leading themselves to more and more suffering. And ultimately, the destinations that they receive upon death most likely won't be good due to their lack of piety and their lack of spiritual activity and work that they've done. So it takes somebody to help them. And that's the work of the devotee. You know, that's our job, is to help others. And that's how we're going to get so much joy, by sharing bhakti with others, practicing bhakti and sharing it with others. And then it only just multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. So this is ultimately the intention of the retreat, is that you're going to take this out. You know, not that you're going to be a spiritual master by the end of the retreat, or nor are we spiritual masters. We're here on behalf of our spiritual master, who's instructed us on behalf of his spiritual master, and so on. But we're trying to connect the chain and take you to the point where actually this is your duty to everyone. Lord Chaitanya wants everyone to be guru or be a spiritual master at some point, maybe this life, maybe the next life. But actually that's the living entity's duty, is to be a teacher for others, be the light of the world, as Jesus would say. So as you can see, the true nature of the world is it's quite dark. But this is the light. So yeah, any questions on the intention of the retreat? A little serious, huh? So we're gonna welcome Kishore back, and Manny and Parth for grabbing Kishore. So we have an awesome retreat lined up, and we have an awesome group of you. We're so excited to spend the next 4 days with you all. Remember how blessed this time is. It's like a super sale. Instead of Black Friday, we'll call it a Sham Friday, because Sham is the color of Krishna. Krishna is actually black, but because he also has an incredible effulgence about him, it makes him appear blue. Just like the sky, the space is black, but due to the effulgence of the sun reflecting, the sky is blue. So this is also Krishna's magic. So yeah, let's offer some. Well, I want to hear from you guys. Are you guys ready for this, or any questions? Any like, wait, no, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't want to do all this. Sorry, Manny, you missed it. You're doing it there already. That's why I sent you out, you and Fard. Any questions? No?
What happened?
You can send Manny the verses. I took pictures.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, man. You can listen. It's only like 20 minutes long, so you can revisit it on your car ride home. But yeah, basically we're trying to save the world.
Basically.
And I've assembled an army here to help save Syracuse. And we're gonna take it beyond Syracuse. So
How are we doing?
yeah, we'll talk about it.
Which stuff are you talking about? Control myself.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
okay.
gonna conquer the hearts and minds.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to do with first we're gonna have to control ourselves and find what's really gonna satisfy us, our bhakti. And by sharing that bhakti with others, when we're actually experiencing bhakti, which first comes with we got to control ourselves, and then we can awaken and begin practicing our bhakti. And then as we start then sharing that bhakti with others, this is what's going to save them and save the world. We're going to keep spreading it like a wildfire.
Haribol.
And that's what, ultimately, that's what Lord Chaitanya wanted. We got here a year and a half ago, and we didn't really know any of you, actually. I think we met maybe one or two of you in the beginning. Aid, we met you right away almost. And then Tej, we met you right away. But we didn't really know anyone else. And it just keeps growing. And then like in just 1 month, it's just like, and like we were gonna like leave like a bunch of times, which is why it like kind of slowed the growth, because it wasn't like, we were like, oh, I don't know if we want to grow anymore. We don't want to grow anymore. But actually, what Krishna made us realize, and he helped in a lot of circumstances, is this is what we're supposed to do. And you're the people we're supposed to do it with, at least for the moment. So we're honored to be here, and we're on a mission. One, to master ourselves, and then in doing that, we can help others master themselves. And in that, we can all actually be happy. It's possible. And I don't know, there's a video going around that Sita took of you guys all chanting and dancing when you were just like doing your own little kirtan before. That was so happy. That was like so nice to like witness that. I just come up upstairs and I just hear like more and more happiness. I'm like, what is going on up there? And it made me happy. So anyway, yeah, that's what we're here to do. So
Krishna, yesterday we wanted to have you.
what's that?
We wanted to have you like
We're lucky to have you.
Oh, you're, if anything, you're lucky that our Guru Maharaj has sent us in this direction and blessed us immensely so that we can just share what we've been taught. And I mean, it's all coming down a lineage. It's all coming from Krishna, but we're just trying to be conductors of the electricity. And we want you to do the same thing for everyone. There's millions of, anyone could get a house. It's not that special to get a house. You could all do the same exact thing. But, maybe not. Maybe everyone has their own unique thing they're going to do. But, yeah, we're just grateful to be here with you guys, because without you guys, nothing happens. So, we actually, we bow to you guys because you're the ones fulfilling all of our desires. You're all like our little desire trees, is the Vanchakalpa prayers. That's what the meaning of the prayer is. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, so this is kind of the layout of the retreat, how to master ourselves, to help others, and ultimately save the world. Lofty goal, but we're going for it. Would you guys like to do Damodar Astakam? Or is there anything else before Damodar Astakam? Cece?
What does Jai mean?
Dying?
Jai.
Oh, Jai. Jai means all glories.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a hooray, or all glories to this thing. Like Jai to Jaya Prabhupada. Victory, yeah, victory. This is synonymous. It could be interchanged.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So,
It's key.
what?
What's key?
Everyone else is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think key, Ben asked what key means. I think key means just like kind of like, it's like a call out to you guys to respond. But I don't know, maybe one of my Indian students can tell me what's key mean?
The key Jai.
Key Jai.
Key.
Your
Like,
his Jai.
His.
Yeah.
like that apostrophe, like Prerna, Prernas, like that. Key is like the.
Yeah.
S.
It's an apostrophe S.
Okay, all right. So
So-
it's like ownership. Ownership. Okay, got it. Now I just learned something.
So it's like if you're saying Srila Prabhupada ki jai, like yeah, it's his glory. Like,
Beautiful. Yeah.
Jai.
So great question, because I just learned something wonderful. I've been saying that for many years. I had no idea.
I was scared to ask those questions, so thank you.
Yeah, you can ask all those questions.
Yeah, all those, there's no stupid questions. Like, get all of our questions out here. Anything else before we do Damodar Astakam?
So I have one. I know that you're talking about like having us here for the, for the 4 days and trying to get rid of the other senses. But like I know Manny said he had to work, I think on Saturday. I have a work engagement I have to on Saturday as well. Can you maybe help? I don't know if it was on the schedule, I can't remember, but help to address trying to stay there when you're outside?
That is totally part of the protocol, because we understand you're all going to leave the retreat. So yes, that's going to be actually because ultimately we're all not going to live and be together forever. So the whole point is to take this and make you so internally strong that no matter where you are, you, instead of being overcome by the external miseries, you are a source of light, and you're exuding that happiness and that love, that bhakti to everybody, which is a completely, totally different thing. Instead of getting swept away by an ocean of misery, which is what's currently happening, we are like a pillar of bhakti that's just creating more bhakti emanating from us. And that is the goal. So yes, that is part of the agenda. That is why we're here. That's how you're going to save the world. So, because we know you're going to have to go back out to the world to save it.
We don't want to.
You have to. You will want to.
Protection.
Yeah, this is where you're gonna get cuddled and nourished and cuddled, everything that you need, and patted, and it's gonna be okay, some kisses and all that's gonna happen here. But at some point then we're gonna brush you up and be like, all right, go out there and give it another shot. And then yeah. Exactly. Everyone's gonna grow in their bhakti together, and it's a process, and you get your butt kicked a little bit out there, but it's okay. It's just like, just like when you're a kid, you got to fall down and scrape your knee a few times to toughen up a little bit. And so,
like Vicky said yesterday, I feel like y'all my parents now, and y'all kicking me out. Like,
we just asked you to move in. We just asked you to move in, man. I don't know what you're talking about. So, anyway, it's 8:45. I think we're gonna continue tomorrow, but let's do a final Damodar Astakam and little kirtan to close the night, and then we're gonna close out. You guys can chat amongst yourselves, but I'm gonna be quite strict. 9 o'clock, I'm going down. I recommend you guys get to bed early. Why? So we can get up early and really give it our best effort, because even though 4 days seems like it's a long time, actually it's only 3 more days now. It's actually going to go by so quick, and there's so much work to be done in just a little bit of time. So let's, Caius.
I said we are somehow learned about like bhakti. How do you learn do that, like an animal. How do animals learn in the wild? How do, if it learned?
I like that question.
So if an animal wanted to learn bhakti,
Yeah, like.
He said hypothetically, like if you're a lizard. and you wanted to
Okay.
learn bhakti.
so all right, the cute question. A cute question has a great answer actually. Go ahead.
We'll talk about it later, okay,
No,
No, it's fine. So no, it's a good question. Now there's a certain body that bhakti is best practiced in, and it's the human body, unfortunately. But we're all fortunate enough to be in that body right now, so it's important we take to this. But the way that animals make progression in their bhakti so that they can one day get the human birth is that some fortunate devotees chant around them or give them prasadam or do something very nice, encourage their bhakti, usually through the power of that secret special mantra I was telling you about, where if you chant that to all the lizards and the animals, you'll help them get to their bhakti and they'll get to be humans one day and they'll get to practice.
And make prasad to feed to them.
Yeah, you can feed the animals, sure. Yeah.
Understand the say, but
Aw.
it also said that within the animal world, the parrot is very lucky because it can repeat the chanting of the holy names.
Yeah, well, that's also one.
What's up with parrots and little. Papa said this in one of his books.
Yeah, no, I that makes a lot of sense.
Because they have memory, they can repeat like.
Yeah.
and it says memory is the first stage to intellect.
Sure. You know, I mean, as far as animals go, the parrot is probably one of the more lucky ones. Maybe peacocks are quite lucky because Krishna loves peacocks. Cows are quite lucky because Krishna loves cows. But
Brenda Devi arranges the pastimes of the Lord and she always has peacocks in her service, yes.
yeah, well, yeah, but ultimately, to not get too much into the animal life, we're all humans. But ultimately, chant Hare Krishna to the animals, Kayas, feed them prasadam, and you're helping them immensely. And actually, it's said that they'll likely get a human birth in their next birth, simply because you want them to.
So I have read that whatever prasad leftovers are that no one else in the house will eat. I've read before that it's recommended you leave it out for the animals. You think
Yes.
that's literally helping them is more than just simply food.
Yeah, that is absolutely helping them immensely, and do it. I actually heard a story I was just reading that it said that one should offer lamps, like what I'm trying to do right now. One should offer lamps to the Lord. But one time during this month that someone offered a lamp to the Lord, and what would happen is the rats, they would get in and try and eat the ghee wicks because it tastes good. It has the ghee. So they would go in, and one of the rats went and tried to eat a ghee wick that was still a little smoldering, and it got stuck in her teeth, and her mouth is getting burned, and she's like jumping up and writhing in pain and actually dies. But because she was jumping up with the ghee wick in her mouth, the Lord took that as her offering, and she got a human birth in a wonderful family to practice bhakti in the next life and became a wonderful devotee. So the animals, anything related to bhakti that they get to experience, like my dog, whenever I walk my dog when I visit my parents, and actually we have a really cute video of me chanting a little kirtan with the dog, and he's just howling along to the kirtan. He's going to make tremendous benefit. He's heard thousands of holy names. He's eaten hundreds of plates of prasadam. I've already requested Krishna dozens of times to make him a human and make him a bhakta in his next life. I don't know. It's up to Krishna. If he wants, he can come and be my son, and I'll take care of him.
In this life?
What? Maybe he only has like maybe another 5 years left. No way. He's living longer than that. Anyway, he has like max 5 years left. And so, yeah, he can be my son if Krishna wants him to. But, I've already requested Krishna to take care of him, and I expect Krishna to do that. I have faith that he will. Yeah. So, anyway, go on. We got more on this subject.
Someone might ask. About this, someone asked Prabhupada about this, and Prabhupada said that whatever flowers we pluck and when we make a garland to Lord or spiritual master, that plant does get a human life after this lifetime itself.
Now think about all the plants that we're also offering to be the Lord's prasad as well. Madhu.
So according to what Bhakti Yoga is like, we do what according to what the God wants us to do. So that is what like the Bhakti Yoga is. Like, we know like also the God has like created this law of nature. Even the plants, like gets as a food to the deers, and the deer will be like the food to the tiger.
Yeah.
It's a law of nature. The animals are like already following that law of nature, which is the rule set by the God.
Yeah.
And even the plants, they are not doing on their wish. They, they give the food. That's the law of nature, which is set by the God.
Sure.
And we human beings don't think in that way, like what purpose we have on this earth. Our purpose is to reach the God. And we forget that and we do all the other things apart from that.
Yes.
And we don't have that bhakti. So that is the rule which we have to follow.
Yeah.
The path of
Yeah.
bhakti.
Well, I'll tell you actually, I'll say it's half correct, right? Because bhakti is ultimately, at first, there are certain rules and regulations called Vaidhi Bhakti, in which by following that, we make advancement to find the real purpose of life. Our real, the real purpose is pursuit of the absolute truth. But ultimately, at one point, it's actually what we want to do to please God. What we think will be most pleasing to God, and God is so much pleased by that, and that will eventually become what's called Raganuga Bhakti. But that takes a lot of training to learn to that. And I'm just learning and a very beginner in this process. So we're going to teach what's called Vaidhi Bhakti. It's like the rules of God set out by God. This is how you cultivate bhakti. But then actually once bhakti is cultivated, it's like almost a whole new world where the rules there's a whole different set of rules. And it's between you and God, and ultimately, yeah, it's not like rules on a chessboard, there's going to be there's a whole different exchange between the living entity and God at that point.
And you'll find a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, and there's so many opportunities, infinite opportunities to please God, and for him also to be a mutual exchange of everlasting pleasure between Jiva and God. But you're Jiva, but it's a living entity, a soul. So basically, though, we are not getting into this retreat. That is a very advanced, very, very advanced concept. But as you were saying, this retreat is how we can in order to even get to Raganuga, you have to understand Vaidhi. You have to understand the rules and how this world works and how Krishna has designed this world and what this world that we're ensnared in and how we can get out of it. The only way. If you don't do this, there's no way around it. It's not like, Krishna will take special care of you. He will take special care of you by sending you to someone to teach you Vaidhi Bhakti eventually. But that's eventually, we have to pass this test and become unensnared from things that have nothing from the illusions of this world. And then it's a whole new free landscape. But we're not free from it yet. We have to kind of learn the rules of the prison we're in, because that is the unfortunate circumstance. We're in a bondage set by a what's called Maya, which is our own ignorance. So we have to become enlightened, actually, first, and then at the enlightened stage, then there's different rasas or different tastes or nectars in which you can associate with God, and there's deeper and deeper ones. But that's not a course for this retreat. but it's a wonderful study, and if you read all these literatures, it's going to take you there. But that's a very deep study. But now I'm cutting off the questions because it's almost that 9 o'clock period, but we still have to offer lamps for the night. Just by offering one lamp in this month of Kartik, as many sins as you could have ever committed will be erased. And you have the chance of